Okay, so I'm 20 now. As of August 11th. I don't know when this video is going to go up, but I'm 20 now. And for a long time, this was the scariest thing ever. Because once you're 20, you're like a proper adult. Not that I wasn't an adult at 18 or 19, but that's like a fuzzy gray area, you know? You're also expected by a lot of people to know where you want to go with your life. If you're in college, you better have your major picked out, and of course, you better be ready to answer what you're going to do with it. If you're not in college, you're going to start getting asked, like, what your plan is. There's a phrase I heard in this anime one time, this anime from 7 years ago about swimming. At 10, you're a prodigy. At 15, you're a genius. And at 20, you're ordinary. And then the character says, I can't wait to be ordinary. And I never understood that part. For some background though, I never really got to be an ordinary kid. Like in the first half of elementary school, I was constantly taken aside because of my neurodivergency. And then, for the latter half of elementary school, I was in 3 different gifted programs. I was isolated from most kids my age and worked under a unique curriculum. In theory, that's great. The program was meant to test out new learning techniques, so we learned presentation skills in order to talk about things that interest us, and we did accelerated math, reading, and history. I spent the first half of my teens trying in vain to cling to still being that gifted kid. High school was pretty rough on my mental health, being so big and full of strangers, and I was normal. I was put with the normal kids, and I hated that. These weren't my people. These were not the kids who thought outside the box and loved video games and puzzles. It pains me to think about it, but I thought for so long that all these normal kids were the ones who liked boy bands and underage drinking. And for so long, I was just this painfully pretentious girl who loved not being like other girls and thought she was so much better than everyone else. Then came the latter half of my teens, and I became pretentious over art instead of intelligence. I was Alex Massey, novelist, flautist, and creative mastermind. My writing back then was what you'd expect of a 16-year-old, edgy and painful to look back on. But I really thought I was saying something, and I made sure the world knew it. I was obsessed with aesthetics. I wanted to look quirky, act quirky, and consume quirky media. I was the anime kid, and then the Steven Universe kid, and then the young adult fantasy kid, whatever made me look like I was part of a Tumblr mood board. It was also around then I realized I was actually tangibly different from the norm. My mom had first told me I was autistic in 6th grade, and I'd known I was gay since I was 14, but it was only in my mid to late teens I realized how alienating those things actually are. I had a lot of messy things happen to me in high school because of them both. I'm not saying I didn't deserve some of it, I was a jerk, but yeah. Anyways, point is, I gave it all to my art. I was hellbent on getting published and releasing proper music before 20. I sent my first novel query out at right after my 16th birthday. I taught myself guitar, and I tried to teach myself piano. I taught myself music production. I briefly considered a double major in creative writing and music. Technically, I did succeed at my goals. I've been published in a whole bunch of places, like Vancouver is Awesome, The Peak, Factivist, Dawdle, Polar Expressions, Train River Poetry, and I did self-release my EP 8 days before my birthday. But inevitably, folks around me started to ask, is this something you want to do? Like a career? Because in this late capitalist hellscape we currently live in, if you like something, you better monetize it or just reduce it to a hobby. After all, if you aren't willing to grind forever to turn your passion into your career, do you really care all that much? That was this narrative I bought into for way too long, that if you didn't dedicate every second to this modern idea of a successful full-time artist, you didn't actually want it that badly. If you have a day job, you aren't a real author or musician or artist or whatever. If you don't drop out of school and live out of your car uploading 6 things a week, you don't deserve it. And of course, there's this outspoken rule that if you haven't achieved this oddly specific goal by a certain age, you should give up and be ordinary and get a real job, which you'll hate because it won't be art. Now that I'm a wizened 20-year-old, I can say with certainty that that's utter nonsense. First of all, no matter where life takes me, I'm going to be a great writer and a great musician, and I'm never going to stop doing those things. Will they be my full-time job? Who cares? And even if they aren't, the world is big. I'll find a balance I love, doing some job I love. Or maybe just a bunch of jobs, because the idea of one stable career, I don't know if I'm really vibing with that. I could end up doing a bunch of things. And when that swimming anime boy, okay, no, I'm done being coy. I remember his name, it's Haruka Nanase. When he said, I can't wait to be ordinary, I always saw that as a death sentence. But here's the truth. You can be ordinary and still be an artist or athletic or whatever it is that you want to do. You can still pursue your passions professionally. That is very much viable. What really opened my eyes was stepping into the local art scene. There are some incredible people there making incredible things, and they'll leave behind incredible legacies. And all of them either live off their art or have day jobs they actually like. Some of those jobs even within the art scene. I know theater folks who manage by day, whether that's tickets or social media, and make art by night. And I know full-on poetry hustlers who make a living off teaching and writing poetry. I know an award-winning musician who's a yoga teacher by day. Another thing I'm trying to tell myself is that none of this changes if I'm older. Sure, I won't be able to do youth programs as often anymore, because most of them stop at 20. But again, I always told myself, I have to have this many achievements by the time I'm 20 or I should throw in the towel. Because, we're all told we have until a certain age to make it, whatever that means. Which is also just nonsense. You're never too old to pursue what you love. With writing, this is kind of a given. Most authors are older by the time their stuff is out there. But it's true with music too. Oh god, this is kind of embarrassing. But I actually keep a list of people who quote unquote made it when they were older. Like, I'm pretty sure Mia Folick was out of college when she started her band. Like, she actually used Tinder for that. And then there was Jessie Reyez, who spent her early 20s busking and bartending before she got accepted into a recording arts program. Socialz released their first song together after they'd finished with college and while doing jobs they hated. If I'm remembering right, Lauren Morgan, the vocalist, was a leasing manager and actually once discovered a dead body on the job. The list goes on. Don't stop chasing your dreams once you turn 20. And again, you don't have to be some award-winning chart topper to have those dreams come true. There are so many ways to do what you love, and you can do what you love and still be perfectly ordinary. I think at least for now my life isn't going to change too much. I have a lot on the way. I'm still writing Freak Spotters. I'm also revising some short stories I'm hoping to get published, and of course I'm working on my novel. I also might try learning how to do a twine game, and I'm kind of working on a play, and of course I have more music stuff coming. Another electronic instrumental EP maybe, an experimental cue chord only EP maybe, and I still want to do a bedroom pop album someday. And of course, I'm still moving on with life. I'll be starting at a new university next month, which is scary but exciting at the same time. And I'm still in like 3 different forms of therapy: group, counseling, and regular visits to the psychiatrist. And I'm on antidepressants, which my next video will be about. All this has helped me, by the way. Don't get me wrong, I still have a mental illness and a lot of unresolved trauma, but I only have the occasional nightmare instead of constant night terrors, and I don't have a stress-induced spasm anymore. Side note, if you knew me in February and March, I'm so sorry. But yeah, no. Art, school, therapy. That's the plan. And I'm gonna live a wonderful ordinary life as a wonderful ordinary creative, because everyone's ordinary really, and that's a good thing. I don't know. I can't wait to see what my 20s bring me. If you listened to this whole thing, thank you. I'll be doing a video on my antidepressants and how that's affected me as a creative next. Spoiler alert, it hasn't been bad. Anyways, thank you so much. And, yeah, love you all.